Hey, today is May 6th, 2025. This is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Items listed on this agenda may be taken out of order presented. Two or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related discussion may be delayed at any time. Backup material for this agenda may be obtained from Luann D. Holmes, City Clerk of the Office of the City Clerk at 495 South Main Street, second floor, or on the city's webpage at lasvegasnevada.gov. I'd now like to call this meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Chair Becker?
Present.
Vice Chair Niger?
Yep.
Commissioner Arminian?
Present.
Commissioner Gabray?
Present.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Commissioner Keller? Excused. Commissioner Martin? Excused. Commissioner Zamora?
Here.
Commissioner Burgos?
Here.
Commissioner Cornwell? Excused. Commissioner Robinson?
Present.
Commissioner Stitt? Excused. Commissioner Vokitz?
Present.
Commissioner Jones? Excused. Commissioner Wall? You have a quorum.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to have an announcement regarding the compliance and with the open meeting law.
We are compliant.
Excellent. Agenda item number 3 is public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Before we have members of the public come forward, I would like just to mention briefly that we have a new commissioner today. Her name is Bonnie Wall. She's a mayor appointee. She's been in service with education and in our community for a long time, and she's known the mayor a long time. I just think it's great that she's here today. And Bonnie, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the rest of the commission, that'd be great. You can just hit your mic on the red button and go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little more.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Wall. One of the reasons I moved to Las Vegas is because I do know Shelley. We met in kindergarten and were friendly until she moved to Las Vegas when she was 13 years old. My background is in education, also in service. My father had luncheonettes and restaurants. While in education, I was very active in the union as a union rep for either the school I worked for or for the speech language pathologists I represented. And I'm very excited that Shelley appointed me, that the mayor appointed me to be on this commission.
That's wonderful. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Moving on, let's go ahead and see that we do have somebody from the public who would like to speak.
I was the City of Las Vegas Parks and Recreation Commissioner from 1991 until 2025. This included holding the position of Park Naming Chairperson from 1992 until 2016, until the construction of parks slowed down and the subcommittee was discontinued. My appearance is to reference the naming of the pickleball courts at Police Memorial Park. A brief history of the park name includes a motion made by me on May 9th, 2001 to meet with the then Ward 4 councilman and suggest that all tree growth, walking paths, play structures, and other facilities within that park site be named as a tribute to police officers only. This motion passed. Councilman Larry Brown's office had already promised the ALS Foundation there would be a tree grove at that particular location before bringing it to the attention of the City of Las Vegas Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, so it could not be changed to another park. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department was told this already planned tree grove would have to stay. However, further structures would remain under the auspices of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department as a collaborative effort. It might offend the populace to name a structure within the Police Memorial Park after a private citizen. 2 police officers, Alan Beck and Igor Sordo, were tragically murdered on June 8, 2014. On August 5, 2015, the Las Vegas City Council unanimously voted and passed a measure to name a park after Igor Sordo, after it first passed per procedure on July 7th, 2015 by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. On January 31st, 2020, we celebrated the grand opening of the Allen Beck Memorial Park. I'm hoping commissioners will share my enthusiasm for honoring the brave men and women who protect our freedoms by maintaining the integrity of naming substructures within Police Memorial Park with the same tradition started by previous commissioners, and consider making a motion that no action be taken for Agenda Item 8, discussion for possible action regarding the naming of pickleball courts at Police Memorial Park at Metro Academy Way. This will give the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department more leeway in determining if a park or a substructure can be named after one of their own. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sherman. So commissioners, just as a point of reference, just keep that in the back of your mind when we, and I know there's other people that will speak later on, and when we get to agenda item number 8. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 4, for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of April 1st, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Commissioner Zamora, I heard a motion. Second?
Second.
Commissioner Howard, seconds? Okay. Thank you. I have a motion and second for the meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Seeing none opposed, it looks like that carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 6, we have a report from Brad Dessler, the urban forester, regarding the urban forestry program update all wards. I did. Sometimes, I get excited and I cross them out before I get to them, and you caught me. Okay. And, nothing against our wonderful law enforcement. Agenda item number 5 is a report from the Department of Public Safety regarding issues in city facilities, all parks, all wards. Lieutenant, that wasn't personal.
Oh, no, it's you're fine, thank you. Good afternoon. For the City of Las Vegas, for Ward 1, we had 106 calls for service for Ward 1 in the month of April. And our top 3 parks is at Gary Dexter Park. We had 4 citation or arrest. Rainbow Family Park, 4 citation or arrest. And at Bob Baskin Park, 4 citation or arrest. And those citation or arrest included park violations, lodging without consent, and again, various park violations. For Ward 2, we had a total of 48 calls for service. Our top 2 parks was Kellogg's Air with 3 citation or arrests for park violations, and All-American Park, 2 citation or arrests for, again, park violations. For Ward 3, we had 296 calls for service. Our top park with enforcement was at Justice Leavitt Park with 53 citation arrests for various park violations, lodging without consent and warrant. Gary Reese Freedom Park, 18 citation arrests for park violation and lodging without consent, and Rafael Rivera Park at 14 citation or arrest for park violations and warrants. Out of Ward 4, we had 74 calls for service. Our top 3 parks was at Bob Baskin Park. We had 3 citation arrests for narcotics. At Bunker Park, 2 citation arrests for park violations. And Durango Hills Community Center, 1 citation arrest, and it was for a warrant. In Ward 5, we had 259 calls for service. Our top 3 parks was Kianga Aisaki Park for 17 citation arrests for park violation. Ethel Pearson Park at 16 citation arrests for park violations and warrant. And Lorenzi Park, 12 citation arrests for park violations. Ward 6, we had 74 calls for service. Our top 2 parks was at Floyd Lamb, 2 citation arrests for park violation, Polly Gonzalez Park, 1 citation or arrest for park violations. And these numbers, again, do not include calls for service for perimeter checks, securing facilities, or other out-of-vehicle calls. So for the month of April, we had a total of 857 calls for service. Our trailer cameras in the month of April were at, the first camera remained at All-American to combat issues at sporting events. A camera was deployed at Bradley Bridle Park due to multiple arson incidents that occurred. And our third camera was deployed at Promenade Garage in response to an arson investigation. DPS did not attend any COP events at a city park or facility in the month of April.
Thank you for that report. Commissioners, do we have some questions? Commissioner Jones?
Good afternoon. Sorry for being late. Commissioner Jones, Ward 5. What is a park violation? What is the violations?
There are actually, park violations can vary between, if somebody's there after park hours, that would be a park violation. If they have a weapon in a park, there's actually numerous different things that would end up being a park violation. Alcohol in the park, lodging without consent, any of those, and I don't know if you were on the original email chain, but I could forward you, when we say park violations, what that looks like, if you would like me to do that.
And then what are we, because we're having a lot of problems with some of the, well, I ain't gonna say some of them, a lot of the parks that's in Ward 5. Lorenzi, we're having a big homeless problem over there. The park on Washington and D Street, we're having a homeless problem over there. We got numerous of parks that we're having homeless problems, issues. We're having the same thing with Circle Park off of Belzar. So is there anything that we're doing to put more meat into it, to make sure these parks are made available for kids other than adults sleeping over there and hanging out, doing drugs, drinking alcohol? Thank you.
Yes, sir. We continue to, like each month, at the end of the month, we compile all of our data for calls for service. And when we are aware that, we call them hot spots, and because we're having a lot of activity, then we do always try to make it a priority for us to go and do park sweeps. I know one of, our sergeants are doing that. They're doing park sweeps where we go in and we don't just have one officer, because some of these parks are so big, people can run or move, where we'll have all of our officers go there and try to find park violations to do that. But I'm not sure if you are also aware, for constituents, I know with Ward 4 and 6, with Councilwoman Bruni, when I have met with citizens that go to parks, we actually have also what's called See, Click, Fix, where if somebody sees something in the, whether it be a park violation, that they can actually take a picture with their cell phone, and then it is sent to the department, and then we can go out and handle that. But that's not just for DPS, but that's also for like parking violations, if there's issues with that. But for sure, we are definitely trying to combat that. I know with Lorenzi, we have seen, we've actually gotten a compliment from a citizen that wrote a form stack that they have seen improvement. So we're definitely trying to continue to do that and make our presence felt in the community, that they do feel safer.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Vokus.
Commissioner Vokus, Ward 1. I'd like to start out to thank you and what your staff do. If you can please tell them, I know it's an ardent task. I did notice again that stats are going up and compared to this time, and that's an interesting trend. I'm into statistics. So is it because your staff are actually out there enforcing more, or is the general public just nasty, for lack of a better term? I'd like to think that your folks are actually doing a better job. So sometimes when you see statistics go up, it's a good thing. And I just want to clarify that, okay?
Yes, under the direction and guidance of Chief Potts, we use evidence-based policing for what we do. And so we go back to calls for service. So when we see that we're having a lot of calls for service at a specific area or a specific park, then we are trying to make sure that we are, focusing our energy and attention to that. And so that's probably why a lot of the stats have gone up from perhaps even this time last year. We're trying to do a good job about making sure that we are hitting those parks that especially are having a higher, influx of problems, that we're focusing our attention to that. And when we are seeing that, then we're making sure that, that we do try to enforce where it's appropriate.
Okay. And I do have a recommendation. I don't know if the rest of the commissioners agree, but I love your presentation, but I don't need this big a piece of paper. So I would recommend in the future you can have a smaller piece of paper. That would be helpful. Okay. All right.
Will do.
Commissioner Samora?
Thank you. Commissioner Samar, for the record. Looking at the stats for Ward 3, I see that compared to April 24 to this April, some of these numbers have doubled. And as the commissioner prior to me was saying, statistics can be good. Is there a way to get a report to see what kind of citations or violations were given at some of these parks compared from last April to this April, specifically because some of these have almost doubled in the amount? And I just want to make sure that we're not criminalizing people for minor violations, or just trying to see what violations are being given out to people, because we do want to encourage people to be at the parks and, of course, following rules and making sure that everything's safe. But is there a way to get that report of violations that were issued in 24 compared to the violations issued this April?
So a breakdown of what citations were issued in 24 compared to what was done in 25?
Yeah. And just specifically because some of these numbers, looking at the top 3, the numbers have doubled in citations.
Yes, I can work on that for you.
Commissioner Jones?
I'm sitting up here and it's over 40-some parks, almost 50. How many do you think you're understaffed?
I can tell you, I think that we do a good job with hitting our parks. And I think that I'm sure every law enforcement agency would like more officers, of course, but I can tell you that the officers that we do have, they're all very proactive, and I feel like they do a good job. Every night, every shift has to give a breakdown of what is done for, what did they do for the day, to explain, how many citations, how many arrests, are they going out to these different parks. But I can tell you that our officers, do a good job, and will continue to do a good job moving forward, of course.
Commissioners, Lieutenant, it was a great report. I do want to just add a couple things, which is, naturally, we're going to see these incidents uptick usually as it gets warmer. That tends to be the cycle that we see every year. Our officers are really great about recognizing that homelessness is not a crime. So they're allowed to be in the park, provided they're not doing anything illegal, especially like smoking marijuana, which some of them might not be aware of, et cetera, which is one of the calls that they get frequently. And then in addition to that, they also try to weigh so that they're not like profiling people, which is to your point, for smaller infractions. Like generally speaking, I could be wrong here, but I think when it says park violation, most of the time it has to do with service hours, or things, or kind of infractions of that nature. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we do have people that are going into parks after hours, which would, because people are maybe trying to lodge there and they're in there after hours. So that's obviously one of the things that we see. But we've also, if there's physical altercations in a park, that could be one of the things that's being addressed. So it doesn't have to be just, it could be something as small as being there after hours, or it could be having alcohol in the park or a weapon in a park. And so all of those, obviously, we would deal with. But to your point, we absolutely, homelessness that's not a crime. So if somebody's utilizing the park for its intended purposes, then we don't bother them. If they're sitting on a blanket, that doesn't mean necessarily that they're trying to sleep there. If I went to the park, I wouldn't want to sit on the grass, so I'd sit on a blanket. So absolutely, we're not just targeting any one group. We're just trying to make the park safer for everyone to use.
Great. Officer, thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay, Lieutenant, thank you for the report. Thanks again. It's always good to see you.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 6. Sorry about that false start, Brad. Brad Dressler, Urban Forester, regarding Urban Forestry Program Update All Wards.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to go through a couple of our, events and programs that we've been working on this year and give you guys just kind of a quick, brief overview of what we've been up to. So we just completed our 33rd Arbor Day with the City of Las Vegas. It was held on April 16th at Children's Memorial Park in Ward 5. Went really well. We had a lot of vendors came out. We planted 15 trees with a group of 75 volunteers. And like I said, celebrated our 33rd Arbor Day and our 33rd year as a Tree City USA, which is basically a classification or a qualification that says that we host an Arbor Day. We have a proclamation, and then we commit a certain amount of money per capita. It ends up being about $2 per resident, and then that qualifies you as a Tree City USA, and this is our 33rd year. So that was our event there. And then beyond that, through last fall and through the spring months, we have volunteer events in all of our parks. We hold 2 per ward per season. And so with that, we've accumulated over 800 volunteer hours. They've planted trees, they've picked up trash. They just come out and support the park, kind of gives the public pride, it gives them ownership, and it's a lot of fun. So we get people from the community to come out and invest in the things that are important to them, and we've seen a lot of engagement in that. Some of these projects have included our pollinator gardens, and so some of the projects are tree plantings or they're just park cleanup events, things like that. But this year we built 2 pollinator gardens, one at Lorenzi Park and one at Wayne Bunker Park that I think went really well. Those have become, popular projects that we've been doing. So we have 5 through the city right now. And it's just a great opportunity for people to come out, learn about native plants, the importance of pollinators, and expose people to different things that maybe you wouldn't traditionally find in landscaping out here. So those have been popular events. The one at Lorenzi Park was sponsored by Cox Communication. They actually put up about $10,000 to help us build out the project, and then sent volunteers to help complete it, and so that went really well. We planted 300 plants at that site. And if you get a chance, go look at them. It's like the perfect time of year for all of those spaces right now, and they look real nice. In addition to the project, those pollinator gardens have signage and information, so they kind of announce what plants are there. They have some information so that the public can kind of experience it as something different than just like a typical ornamental landscape, and maybe take some information home with them about it. I think that's all I have to say about that. So kind of moving on from our volunteer events, some of the work that we have been working on, and I think that's been, I guess maybe it's been in the news, but it's relevant to people, is the Water Authority has been asking people to remove a certain amount of non-functional turf, and so this has ended up affecting us in the Parks Department. And so I'll get to that in a second. So this being an issue, we're trying to address it a little bit differently. So you can see the two pictures that I have here. The one on the left is our crew doing a turf conversion. This is actually at Dula, at the Dula facility. And this was just an island of grass that was essentially not used. It was in the middle of a parking lot, and so we selected that piece of grass to remove. But you can see we didn't dig anything up. We didn't damage the tree, kind of compared to this picture that I took just driving around town. And I guess I just want to bring this to everyone's attention. Like, this is an issue that we're going to have to experience. Like, we are going to be forced into removing a certain amount of turf, but preserving our mature trees, our large trees, is, I think, vital to kind of combating and not doubling down on the heat that we're going to produce by, removing grass and then putting in rock, and then if on top of that the tree dies as well. So we understand the issue, and I think we're doing a good job in our parks of kind of balancing it, where we're abiding by the law to remove the non-functional turf, but also preserving the assets that we do have in the park, and so that people can continue to enjoy the parks, and it doesn't, we don't lose all that canopy and the value that we have in our mature trees. Yeah, so you can kind of see from the picture some of the things that we're doing, where obviously we're not damaging the tree, we're not cutting through root systems and stressing the tree out during our conversion. Kind of the stripes that you see around where my guys are staying, that's irrigation that we're replacing. So we're replacing the coverage of the irrigation, so like where the sprinklers used to cover all that and irrigate it for the grass to be there. Now we've just replaced it with drip irrigation, which is more efficient. We can run it less frequently, but we're still irrigating where the roots of that tree have established. So that's kind of the principle of what we're trying to do there. And I guess the water savings come just from, water not spraying onto the street, and we're able to water it less frequently because grass needs water daily in the summer, whereas a tree you can irrigate far less frequently than that. All right. So we did a handful of turf conversion projects kind of over, like starting in the spring and then through the fall and winter months, and we've wrapped up just about every single one, I think, except for one. We ended up doing 11 turf conversion projects. We removed about 160,000 square feet of what was deemed as non-functional turf, which is right about 3.5 acres of grass. And in the process, we planted 300 additional trees in these spaces in our parks, and preserved trees that were worthy of being preserved. Just for reference, to get the rebate money from the Water Authority for the turf conversion projects, they only require that you replant up to 50% coverage. So what happens is they give you the full credit for the canopy coverage of the tree. So if you plant even just like you know, an acorn for an oak, they're going to give you 500 square feet coverage if that's the mature size. So their expectation is that when people remove the turf, that we put back in some landscape cover to help combat the heat, and so that we're not just taking out grass and asphalting over our city. So it's a good project, but for ours, like just based on the number of trees that we planted and the turf that we removed, we actually put in 100% coverage. So we wanted to make sure that we were planting trees for the future, that we were, you know, that we were providing the shade, we were providing kind of the park atmosphere that people would want. So we felt like that was important to not just kind of meet the requirement, but exceed that for the beauty of the parks. So in selecting the sites, obviously, like there's some payoff with, I mean, there's some loss when we take grass and usable space out of parks, and so we understand that when we're looking at these different sites and selecting the pieces of grass that we're going to take out. We still want the park to be usable and beautiful, and so we're trying to kind of take out things that aren't efficient, kind of help the guys out with the maintenance. So if something's hard to maintain or even hard to use for the public, like we're really going in on the ground and identifying the things that that aren't being used, that maybe are, that we don't need to be using water on, and then repurposing them and redressing them up. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of projects that we did here. The first one's at Durango Hills Park, and so there was a piece of grass along the sidewalk. To the left of it, there's a big open grass field if you're familiar with the park, but this piece of grass just kind of sat along the sidewalk and no one really used it. You can see we preserved the mature trees that were in good health, and then we added some other trees so that we're going to have some coverage and some shade on the sidewalk. The light poles were in the grass. It was kind of a challenging thing for the guys to mow around and do all this stuff, so it made sense from a couple different perspectives to take out that piece of grass. So we're trying to make good decisions like that. This next park is Bruce Trent. This was a great project. So if you're familiar with this park, every week on Wednesday they have a farmer's market. They got a farmer's market there, and they set up on this little like this little 10-foot patch of grass, and they have their tents, and people are walking through there. And you can see the trees are actually kind of in poor condition. The turf is in poor condition. There were roots, and it was kind of an issue. And so we saw this as a good opportunity to take this grass out. And we remade it with these pads that they could set their tents up on for the farmer's market. We have trees in between, so we felt like that was just kind of understanding the way that the park was being used in the first place and kind of moving towards a better solution. So that was a nice project. And then this is All American Park. Another kind of interesting project that we did. This was an unused kind of turf space in between the artificial field that's up top and the parking lot, and so we removed this grass and did this native kind of landscape. A lot of these plants are not irrigated, so we're conserving water in that way. There's native plants in there that will be established. They're getting them established with kind of some monthly waterings, and then after that, like the creosote and the brittle bush and these different plants that really are drought tolerant, can survive just on rainwater, and so we don't have the maintenance of the irrigation that kind of breaks frequently. We have a lot of trees in there, and then in addition to that, we put in these concrete retaining walls, and these are actually made of salvaged concrete from the Maryland, it's a bus project where they were removing a bunch of sidewalks, and so instead of the concrete going to the dump, we took these pieces and we kind of stacked them as a retaining wall, and we saved about 50 tons of concrete from going to the dump, and it's just, I don't know, it's a cool looking project. So, like I said, we did 10 more. There was a list back here. Oh, this thing only goes forward if you click the forward button. Okay, so those are the parks that we did the conversions at. I'll have a look at that. And then in addition to those projects, we kind of through the fall last year and winter and spring this year, we've planted about 1,100 trees. And so just to give you guys a concept of that, I think depending on where you're from, like some people think you can just take a tree out and you put it in the ground and it grows and that's kind of the end of the story. But out here, we need all the infrastructure to support it. So every time we plant a tree, it's not just digging a hole and putting the tree in, it's making sure that we have the appropriate irrigation and that we're going to be able to support this tree like for the long haul. So, a planted tree doesn't give us the benefits that we're really trying to get of shade and all these things. Like we get those benefits 5, 10, 15 years down the road once the tree is established and it's grown. And so in every single one of these trees that we're planting, we're having to go in and you can see in this picture kind of, create this new irrigation system, do it appropriately to support kind of the longer term look at the tree as opposed to just putting a couple drip emitters up around the root ball and then hoping for the best. So each tree is a little bit more of a project than maybe it sounds like if you just say like, oh, I planted a couple of trees. Like they really are, it's an event. So, and the things that are making us successful are the quality of our tree. And the last time I was here, I kind of mentioned that we have the tree nursery. And so the city runs a nursery where we grow a good amount of our trees. We buy smaller trees and then give them the time to grow up. But we're able to kind of manage the quality and the stability and the structure of those trees. And then we know when we're going out and planting a tree that we're planting a quality tree that's going to stand up in the wind, that it's going to grow and provide all the benefits that we want from it. The nursery also gives us the ability to grow a lot of different species of trees, so we're not held to whatever Star has on hand or whatever nursery in town has, So we're able to kind of curate what species of tree we're going to use and put it in the appropriate situation, and that gives us a lot of ability to succeed. And obviously we have a lot of different places that we need to plant trees, whether it's on the street or it's in parks, requires different trees for different applications. And then the care aspect of it. Obviously, like every tree that we plant, we're committing to caring for that tree through the life cycle. So it's the maintenance of it early on to prune it and give it structure and make it safe to the public, and then all the way through to, hopefully many, many years down the road having to remove and replace it. But thinking about the tree as having that whole life cycle. And so with that in mind, we planted 1,100 trees, but we pruned almost 3,500 trees this last year. So we got people working all the time out there, looking, making sure everything is going well. And I guess to give you guys some context on those numbers, we planted 1,100 trees. We also removed almost 700 trees last year from the parks. And so that happens for, I guess, a number of reasons, right? Like we have maybe poor species selection in poor spaces, or poor maintenance can lead to like a shorter lifespan of a tree. So, we are planting constantly, but also, maintaining 45,000 trees. Like things are always changing, it's always evolving. And so we're trying to keep up with it, but, or even keep ahead of it and increase the canopy coverage that we're providing. But it's, it keeps happening. So, and I guess with that, the last thing, this is Civic Plaza, and I just thought that this was a cool picture. So we brought in a bunch of different trees for the building across the street. And these are some oaks that we had brought in from California. And I've just never seen a tree flying around like that, so I figured you guys hadn't either. But yeah, that tree was almost 4,000 pounds. It's the better part of 35, 40 feet tall, and it's kind of sitting out there right now. So we're hoping that space looks incredible right now. So if you haven't seen it, yeah, peek your head across the street when you take off. But that's it. That's my presentation.
Great, that's an excellent presentation. And for some of our new commissioners, just as an aside, I just want to mention, the city of Las Vegas grows all its own trees, right? Or almost all of them.
Not all its own trees, but yeah, we grow a percentage of them. I don't know if I know what that is, but every year I think 4 years ago, we started off with the nursery program where we were actually growing trees from seed, and that first year we grew about 500, and then I think we bumped it up to like 800. This year we're sitting right around, we got like 15 or 1,600 seedlings that will eventually be like full-grown park trees, and so I would love to grow more. It's you know, it's a thing about space and ability, but yeah, I think we'll continue to do it because it's been a very successful project. It makes sense from a quality perspective. It makes a lot of sense from a financial perspective, and it's been a good program, yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Hi, Commissioner Wall. I understand the water conservation. However, what impact does removing grass and putting stone down do to the temperatures in Las Vegas?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. So in a lot of our projects, I am not putting rock back down because I agree that it kind of makes it inhospitable. I think it's tough for people, it's tough for plants. So in a lot of these situations, like if you go back to that Durango Hills, like we're going in and we're putting wood chips, which actually, you know, they don't store and retain heat in the same way, more of like an organic material. So we're trying that way. Obviously, grass like provides some of that cooling because of the amount of water we're putting on it. But yeah, I recognize the issue of heat, and I think that the preservation of mature trees kind of speaks to that issue, and then selecting different ground covers, and yeah, not just coming back in with a bunch of rocks and kind of landscaping in that manner. We're really, of all the projects that we did, I think the only one where we actually have like landscape rock as a top dressing is the one at All American Park, where it's the native plants, and it was just kind of the look of it, and those plants can tolerate that, but for the most part, we're using a lot of wood chips to soften that impact.
Commissioner Vokus.
Commissioner Vokus, Ward 1. Just a couple of questions. In looking at your images, is that subsurface watering you're using now when you replace the trees? Is that a technique you're using? And the other question I have is, it may be of interest that the commissioners go on a field trip to look at your nursery over the summer. And we're not meeting over the summer, but especially for the new folks, it would be informative if they can do a walking tour of what you do.
Yeah, definitely, but in the morning. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I would love to have you guys. You could definitely come see the nursery. It's an incredible project. And then as far as the irrigation, yeah, it's an inline drip tubing, and essentially what we do is we just staple it on the surface. So we're not digging it in, we're not damaging the roots of the tree where it's established. So it could be subsurface, like if you installed it around a new tree, but generally what we're doing is we're just stapling it to like on top of the ground, and then we're covering with that wood mulch top dressing. So we're not trying to be kind of invasive to the roots of the tree.
Commissioner Jones.
So what you're putting around the tree, basically you're putting more soakers. You got the drip tubing with that soakers that you're putting around some of the trees?
Yeah, so that tube, what it is it has emitters kind of pre-installed in the tube every 12, 18, or 24 inches. And so we install tubing where it's every 18 inches. So every 18 inches, it's actually just a 1 gallon hour emitter. And so we just have a bunch of emitters irrigating that whole surface area. So we're recreating the coverage that the overhead irrigation was doing, but just more efficiently.
So some of the pictures on it, but actually some of the places you guys done, it looks very nice. Another question I have, instead of using 1 inch in trunkies, have you ever thought about 1/2 inch minus in granite instead of using the chunky rocks? Because sometimes you go to the park, they're thrown in the parking lot.
Yeah, that stuff definitely gets kicked around, and for some of the projects, yeah, we've used the decomposed granite, or that, like, I guess it's 1/4 inch minus or whatever it's called, but yeah, it's essentially colored sand, and it ends up being a little bit easier to maintain, and it kind of stays put a little bit better. So yeah, we recognize that as a maintenance issue for sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Commissioner Burgos, Ward 6. And I'm not sure this is under your department, but Floydland Park where the raised garden beds are, does that fall under your area?
I know about it, yeah.
Well, we just had a garden fest in partnership with Councilman Bruni and the Youth Global Volunteer Project, which was amazing. We had over 50 youth volunteer and veteran advocates, active duty, and community advocates show up, and we filled 20 of the beds with vegetables. And I had a question regarding, we're hoping in the future, and actually we just obtained 6 more of the beds because we had such an overwhelming support for the project. But some of the beds we're hoping to, because we are having disabled veterans partner with us in the future or join us. And we've seen other projects across the country where they have the beds where they take out the middle of the bed so you can roll a wheelchair into it so that that person can then be accessible. They can, plant in the entire bed instead of just having to go around it. Is that something that we could look into with the city?
Yeah, I don't see why not. That seems definitely feasible. So, yeah, that sounds feasible. I mean, like you said, it's not exactly my purview, but it sounds like something that we could work with you on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. With that, again, excellent report. It gave us a lot of great insight. I'd love to see the city of Las Vegas experiment with maybe some living ground cover as well, to see if there's other more drought-tolerant ground cover that we can maybe experiment with. I'd like to know, because then I might make some changes on my own property. And also an excellent job at Bruce Trent Park. I actually did art in the park there and set up a tent on one of those pads, and it was such a dramatic difference from what I had done 2 years prior, so thank you for that. Excellent job all the way around. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 7, we have a report from Lisa Tover, Recreation Manager, regarding recreation and center updates, all wards. Hi, Lisa.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Tovar. I just started with the city as Recreation Manager on April 7th, so it's nice to meet everybody. Just to give a quick introduction, for the past 12 years, I've been with City of Henderson's Parks and Recreation Department, and prior to that, I served in Illinois at a park district as a Director of Recreation. I'm heavily involved with the National Recreation and Park Association's CAPRA accreditation process. I serve as a mentor and a visitor. I'm excited to help Las Vegas with those efforts. In my 5 weeks here, I've met a lot of really dedicated, passionate, creative recreation staff and throughout the department, as well as seen so many beautiful facilities, so I'm really happy to be a part of the team. These slides were left over from last month, so we'll skip through those. All right, in recreation, we have summer kicking off in just a couple of weeks. So summer camp starts on May 27th. Our big all-camp staff training is May 17th. We have hired 70 staff for our summer camps this summer, and we are in good shape with our staffing and planning to get camp up and running. These are our registration numbers as of May 1st. So for our kids camp, which is ages 5 to 11 across all of our facilities, this is showing you how many registrations we have and what percentage we are full. So we do have a few sites that have completely filled up for the summer, but we still do have availability at some of our other locations. As you know, we also offer an adaptive recreation camp at Dula for 5 to 18-year-olds. That camp fills a little slower, as those participants know there's less competition for those spots, but they are filling. And then we also offer teen camp for our 11 to 14-year-olds, which is filling really nicely as well. Again, certain locations have already filled. And then at Mirabelli, we have our Tot Camp, Tot Town for 3 to 5-year-olds, which is very close to filling up. And we also have our pools opening up, our seasonal pools Memorial Day weekend. You can see the locations here. For our aquatics team, they held 2 hiring fairs and hired 30 lifeguards, so we're looking pretty good with our staffing for aquatics as well. And then they have their summer in-service trainings to get the new staff trained on the 17th and 31st of this month. I wanted to give an update on Becker Tech. I believe most of you know our municipal sports unit moved into the facility in January, February timeframe. And in addition to their duties, we're tasked with operating the center. They've done some great things in just a short couple of months. One was starting up the STEAM Basics class. They've got 4 sessions running weekly for different age groups. You can see some pictures on the bottom of the screen and the top from that class. And currently we have 21 enrolled. And then they also have gotten 3 paid rentals this year. Compared to 2024, there was 0 paid rentals at that facility. And then they also had 8 sports teams have their end of season parties there to get some more foot traffic in the facility. So they're really doing a great job with bringing that facility back to life. I also wanted to highlight Active Adults. Our programming for seniors is so important to provide them opportunities to socialize with each other, get out of the house. Last month we had some day trips to Happy Camper and the Neon Museum, and East Las Vegas hosted their 2nd annual Red Hat Party, which is a really nice event because it's for current Red Hat members and anyone who may be interested. So if there's anyone in the community that's interested in joining that group, this is a good event for them to come and connect and get brought into that group. And then coming up next week, we have our 32nd annual 90 and up banquet at East Las Vegas to celebrate all of our 90 and up patrons. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that report, Ms. Drover. Do we have questions, commissioners? And I do want to point out that we are going to be running tight on time today, so if we could keep our questions and stuff kind of condensed, it'd be great.
I just wanted to say a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Jones. Anyone else? Great, I'll be in Illinois in a couple weeks, so I'll take some pictures for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, we have an abeyance item, a discussion for possible action regarding the naming of pickleball courts at Police Memorial Park located at 3250 Metro Academy Way, Ward 4. Yeah, Deputy Director.
Good morning, or afternoon, sorry, geez, where did that come from? Good afternoon, Pat O'Mara, Deputy Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs Director. We're bringing this item back, discussion for possible action regarding the naming of pickleball courts because it was obeyed at our last meeting. In that period of time, we as a department, and we've even heard from the council office, that there are several stakeholders that wish to be involved in this. They were not made aware that we were doing the survey and things like that. What we would like to do is withdraw this item at this time and allow the council person to have those conversations with the stakeholders that are involved there and possibly bring this back at a future date to be determined.
Great, Deputy Director. I'll ask for a motion of withdrawal from one of our commissioners in just a minute. I do, if I'm not mistaken, we do have somebody from council who'd like to, representing that particular ward, share some information with us as well.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Burek for the record. I am Special Assistant to Councilwoman Alan Plinsky, and I'm here today to read a statement on her behalf, as well as a letter from Sheriff Kevin McMahill. I'm going to start with the letter from Sheriff Kevin McMahill, if you will. Dear members of the Commission, I am writing to respectfully share my thoughts regarding the abeyance item number 8 on today's agenda. Police Memorial Park, located at 3250 Metro Academy Way, holds profound significance within our community. It is not simply a recreational space, it stands as a solemn tribute to the brave men and women of law enforcement who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. For their families, colleagues, and all of us who wear the badge, it is a place of quiet reflection, reverence, and remembrance. Given the park's deep meaning and purpose, I kindly and respectfully request that the new pickleball court be named in honor of one of our fallen officers. Sadly, there are far too many officers to choose from. However, by doing so, we not only preserve their memory, but also reframe the values of courage, duty, and service that define this sacred space. Thank you for considering this request. With deepest respect, Sheriff Kevin McMahill. Now I will transition to the statement from Councilwoman Alan Plinsky. Councilwoman Alan Plinsky does not support naming the courts at Police Memorial Park at this time, emphasizing that further discussions need to be happening with law enforcement entities and they are necessary. She stands with the recommendation of the sheriff regarding this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, before a motion is made, because I believe the vice chair is going to be making the motion, I just want to see, is there any other comment?
No, I am ready to make a motion. And my motion is to withdraw.
Okay, great. Let the record show then that Commissioner Vokus has made the motion to withdraw. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Niger, second.
Mr. Chair, Tim Gastelum, City Attorney's Office. Just for the formality of it, this would be a motion to withdraw without prejudice. Is that correct?
Yes. Can you amend your motion, please?
Without prejudice, yes, that's fine.
Commissioner Niger, I will re-second motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second to withdraw this item. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Commissioners. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have a presentation by Joe Kennedy, Executive Director of Get Outdoors Nevada, regarding their mission programs and initiatives aimed at promoting outdoor recreation, environmental education, and community achievement across all wards. And welcome.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. Deputy Director and the Parks and Rec team, thank you as well for all of your partnership. I'm so excited to be here. Oh, I'm going to skip through these. One second. Okay, here we go. And tell you a little bit more about what we're up to at Get Outdoors Nevada and highlight some of the great partnership that we've been doing with the Parks and Rec team for the City of Las Vegas and the community. I hope all of you know of us, but we've been around for about 25 years now. We're celebrating our 25th year this year. We're very excited about that. And I'm almost celebrating my first year. I'm our new-ish executive director, so next month will be my year anniversary on the job. But our goal is to connect more Nevadans with the outdoor places that make Nevada uniquely home. And so we have programs that do environmental education, volunteerism, and outreach into the community. Since 2012, so creating community through stewardship is one of those central pillars. And since 2012, we have hosted over 900 volunteer events in parks, trails, and public lands all throughout Southern Nevada, generating over 80,000 hours of service and about $2 million in approximate value to our local residents. So we love our annual volunteer program. You heard a little bit about it from Brad Dossler earlier. So we currently pursue volunteer projects with the City of Las Vegas through our direct volunteer and parks agreement. Those are some of those events that you were hearing about, those tree plantings and the native habitat events you were hearing about in Brad's presentation. And then also as part of our regional agreement through the RTC. So this year in the 24-25 program season, and our program season runs each year from about September through to the end of May. So far we've done 29 volunteer events in 27 different parks across the City of Las Vegas. As a side note, we really make sure to spread the love, so we commit to doing at least 2 events in each of the wards, and this year we're well beyond that. We're about at least 4 have been done in each of the wards. So this year so far, we've got 1,110 volunteers and counting in the City of Las Vegas events, and that's been just shy of 3,000 volunteer hours generated at 2,858 hours, a value of over $88,000 to the community. We've collected 4,902 pounds of waste from City of Las Vegas parks, trails, and surrounding areas. So that's, again, something that we know that it creates a deeper sense of community when we get folks engaged and coming together, do these projects together, and find a sense of community and purpose at their parks. So the other thing, and you'll see some pictures here from our recent Arbor Day event that we were grateful to partner in with the city over in Ward 5 there at Children's Memorial. So this year we helped Brad's team plant over 170 trees in the City of Las Vegas parks. And then we've also planted 750 native Mojave plants through our native habitat program and those native habitat gardens. So speaking of which, as Brad mentioned, one of those gardens was that new Cox Communications Garden at Lorenzi Park. Cox Communications is an organization that has been involved with Get Outdoors Nevada for quite a while. We're fortunate to have board representation from Cox Communications, and they're big annual supporters of our program. So when we were talking about ideas, we reached out to Brad and started talking about, hey, what's something we could do together, and identified this option at Lorenzi Park. So we secured $25,000 in funding from through Get Outdoors Nevada from Cox Communication, and we got this native habitat to Lorenzi Park greenlit, bringing back to life a cactus garden. So if you know Lorenzi Park well, there's a beautiful rose garden over in the kind of northwest corner of the park, and right next to that there had been a desert cactus garden that had kind of seen better days and needed some new life and love, and so that's where we selected to turn it into a native habitat garden. And $10,000 of this partner funding went directly into the city of Las Vegas, into Brad's team, and so we also received local media coverage, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, The Sun, and nationally through their Cox Cares programming. So it was a great program to highlight. Really, as Brad mentioned, right now it's a beautiful time to go see those gardens. One of the things that makes this garden really unique, by the way, is our team designed it as a sensory garden, encouraging the 5 senses. So each of the kind of groupings of plants has been designed to give some kind of grouping that triggers a different sense, and then there's an interpretive sign that will kind of explain how to interact with those plants based on the senses. Just a note, if you go look at the garden right now, those signs aren't in just yet, so the signs will be in a month or so. We also planted the Wayne Bunker Native Habitat Garden earlier this year. That was back in November, and that garden is also looking great. By the way, coming up here on May 17th, we have a volunteer event to go ahead and do some maintenance at Wayne Bunker. So if you want to come get your hands dirty with us and do some garden maintenance and see what it's all about, I encourage you to visit getoutdoorsnevada.org and sign up for that event and come join us. And then, as mentioned, once we establish these native habitat gardens, it's not just, establishing it and then not coming back to it. We schedule annual maintenance events to come back in and do really specialized maintenance on these gardens. So these photos are from 2 of our maintenance events this year, one at Wellness Way over in Ward 1, and then the other at the Justice Leavitt and J.C. Park Native Habitat Garden over in Ward 3. In the kind of middle, you'll see, maybe notice one of the folks there is one of our volunteers from the UNR Extension Master Gardener Program. We work closely with them as well to, again, make these really cool hands-on learning environments where we're bringing in volunteers who are perhaps trying to get into gardening themselves, expand their own gardening expertise, and provide hands-on training where they're giving back to the city parks, but also learning in the process, and then also learning more about native plants. Hopefully that they'll be inspired to plant native plants in their own home gardens rather than other plants that are probably not as well adapted and not as sustainable for our environment. So that's an overview of our classic program. Some of the things that I wanted to highlight, I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the ways in which we're thinking about doing programs a little differently as we move into the next season and do things that are a little special. One of those was to do some more community-centered events. So one of the things that we recognize often is that with our volunteers, we have a very dedicated base of volunteers, which I love, but they often come from all different parts of this city, and they may come to support a park or a community that isn't necessarily their home park or community. And so we want to do a better job of creating outreach and generating outreach with the folks that are living right around the park that we're doing service in. So one of those we piloted over at this was at Freedom Park. We collaborated with 10 plus partner organizations to host our first community park party cleanup, promoting East Side Outside at Freedom Park earlier this year. We brought together Solidarity Fridge, Somos Votas, and a lot of other organizations that are very deeply rooted in the community, and had a really fun time. So that was awesome. We did raffles, we did giveaways, we had lots of really fun stuff to engage community members and hopefully help them discover a park that's right around their neighborhood. And then in general, we're also doing some different outdoor education enrichment opportunities in conjunction with our volunteer events. So my goal is not just to have people leave, I love it when they leave feeling like they've made a difference through volunteering, but I also really believe in lifelong learning and making sure that folks are learning in the process and learning different skills or facts about our community. So earlier this year, we partnered with Red Rock Audubon Society to host a birding-focused walk and learn over at Floyd Lamb. And one of the reasons that we really focused on that as well is over the summer, there was an owl that had lost its life at Floyd Lamb due to fishing line, which if you've ever been to that park, you'll notice a lot of fishing line gets left behind, unfortunately. So we came and did a really fishing line focused cleanup on that park, but then also educating folks about birding and bringing folks who are new to birding in. It was one of our most popular events of the season. We had 63 park volunteers at that event, and over half of them were visiting Floyd Lamb Park for the very first time, which again, that's one of the other great things I love when I can bring people to a new park that's new to them. I had more photos. We have so many photos. It was tough to choose which ones, but I wanted to just kind of share. As you can see, we really have a great time at these events. The community that we bring together it's really a beautiful thing to see, and it's one of my favorite things to do in my role. The other thing that we do is summer enrichment for the City of Las Vegas. So we traditionally provided about 20 hours of programming over the summer for the city summer camps. This summer, I'm really proud to be bringing one of our most high-impact experience to young folks at City of Las Vegas recreational programs. We're going to be doing some guided field trips to Mount Charleston. So through some generous transportation funding that we had from the Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix, we are going to be bringing over 100, hopefully about 150 students from Stupac, Doolittle, and East Las Vegas community centers on outdoor adventures in Mount Charleston throughout June. So we know that students, young people in some of these community centers might have transportation and economic barriers to visiting someplace like Mount Charleston in the summer. So we want to make sure that they're getting that experience. I know for me personally, I go absolutely crazy if I don't get to go up to Mount Charleston in the summer because it's about 20 degrees cooler and I can enjoy the outdoors much more than I can here in the valley. So we're really excited to bring this outdoor experience to some of the community center students this summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Glad to see that.
And that's everything I've got to share today. Oh, actually, I take that back. I do want to say our event season isn't quite over yet, though. So as I mentioned, on May 17th, we've got that Wayne Bunker Native Habitat cleanup. May 10th, we're going to be at Bob Baskin Park doing a cleanup. And then the big finale to our season every year, on June 7th, we're going to be doing our Volunteer Appreciation Day event. That's going to be at Baker Park and Pool in Ward 3 on June 7th. And again, you can sign up for any of these events on getoutdoorsnevada.org, and we'll be sure to share information with you as well. But we'd love to see you at any of our events, and really excited to close out the season strong. So, yeah, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to come.
Commissioners, do we have comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner?
Commissioner Burgos, Ward 6. I just wanted to say I've been to several of your events over the last 2 or 3 years in Ward 6, and your staff is incredible, very welcoming. And I had a great time each time, and you've done a great job for our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones, yes?
Commissioner Jones, Ward 5. What time is that event going to be at Bunker Park?
Yes, Baker Park, perfect. That one should be starting at 9 a.m., but I'll double check and give you the exact time here in a second.
Food?
Before I leave.
You going to have food there?
Yes, we'll have, oh yeah, it's our big end of year celebration. We'll have food, we'll have a pool party, we're gonna have a raffle with lots of cool prizes, so there's gonna be lots of fun stuff. That's gonna be a fun one.
Great job.
Yeah.
All right, I love it when commissioners
8
ask
o'clock.
the important
Sorry,
questions.
Ashley, thank you, Ashley. Ashley just caught me. It's going to be at 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Great, Executive Director, thank you so much for coming today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 10, we have a report by commission members regarding park issues and events within their respective council wards and at large. Commissioner Burgos? Burgos first, right? Yeah, you can go first and then.
Thank you, Commissioner Burgos, Ward 6, and I'll be quick.
Yeah,
But there's a lot going on, which is really cool. First of all, I want to thank
understand.
park staff
That's
because I
the same
was at Floyd Lamb Park, and you guys done a great job of cleaning up the horse area. I know we're working on hopefully making it some more trail activity there, but so far it looks great. New sand was brought in, so it looks great. Thank you very much. May 8th is a Mother's Day luncheon at Floydland Park at 11 a.m. This is being sponsored by Councilwoman Chandra Summers Armstrong, Nancy Bruni, as well as Clark County Commissioner William McCurdy. Again, that's at Floydland Park on Thursday at May 8th at 11 a.m. On May 9th is Jazz Underneath the Stars. That'll be at the Centennial Hills Amphitheater. It is going to be from 7 p.m. and it is free to the public. Free is always great, so hope to see you there. And also on May 10th will be the 20th anniversary of the loss of Polly Gonzalez. She was a well-known anchor and more importantly, a community advocate. So there'll be from 9 to 12 a celebration of her life. There'll be food trucks, fun, and just a great way to honor her. So I encourage everyone to attend that event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Vokus.
Commissioner Vokitz, Ward 1. I want to thank all the staff for what you do, everybody, you don't always hear that, enough of that, I should say. There is some feedback from some patrons of the P1 Padel complex on Buffalo and Okie. That's a private business, but the patrons there, they're pickleball players, they're also tennis players. They're asking, what is the city doing for Padel, P-A-D-E-L? And I didn't have an answer for that. So hopefully in the future, if we, as a presentation, if there's any type of research or any feedback or anything that the city is doing for the sport of Padel, I think that would be a nice agenda item. I couldn't answer their question, so, okay, but thank you.
Great. Putting on my other hat, I just want to mention that Councilwoman Victoria Seaman will be hosting a Ward 2 breakfast buzz from 9 to 10 a.m. on May 24th at Veterans Memorial Center located at 101 Pavilion Drive. The event is free and residents are asked to RSVP to Ward 2 at lasvegasnevada.gov. And then on Monday, May 26th, Councilwoman Victoria Seaman will be joining the Nevada Post 76 Spirit of Freedom Legionnaires to the 2025 Post 76 Memorial Day ceremony. And that event will begin promptly at 9:30 a.m. at Lake Sahara South Park, 3300 Lake South Drive. And last but not least, I would also like to remind commissioners and citizens that the Stars of Nevada Governor's Points of Light Awards are accepting nominations for volunteer recognition through May 31st. This is Nevada's largest opportunity to recognize volunteers within our state. Categories include individual nominations, national service members, nonprofit organizations, corporate volunteer programs, volunteer managers, community leadership, collegiate leadership, and veterans, active military, and first responders. So please take a look, search for Nevada, Stars of Nevada and Governor's Points of Light Awards, and you'll be able to find that. Okay, any other commissioners today? No? Great, with that. Yes, please.
Commissioner Gabriel, Ward 5. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Brad Dessler and Mr. Joe Kennedy for updating your programs. You make the park enjoyable and usable. I attended the Earth Day and Herbal Day last week, Saturday. Councilwoman Armstrong, she attended, her family and her team, and her staff. And there are a lot of volunteers, and I enjoyed it. And the tree planting was very enjoyable. I learned so much from that, and I can't wait to see the tree I planted from now to 5 years, I hope. Thanks so much again, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Moving to agenda number 11. Will be citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Commission unless the subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion of any single subject, as well as the amount of time given for any single speaker allowed, may be limited. Seeing no one for citizens' participation, I'm happy to say that this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.